June stood at his apartment window, watching the rain fall on Seoul for what might be the last time in years. Tomorrow, he would leave Earth to visit aliens, real aliens. "Did you finish packing?" asked his mother from the doorway. "Almost," June said, pointing to his open suitcase on the bed. "Just a few more things." June was an astrobiologist, someone who studied life that might exist beyond Earth. For years, this had been mostly theory work. Then everything changed when the talk arrived. The talk were insect-like aliens from a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri, the star closest to our sun. They had technology far beyond human abilities. They could travel between stars. They could build cities that floated in the air. But they wanted to learn from humans too. And now Jung was one of 3 Korean scientists chosen to visit the Tak colony. It was the chance of a lifetime. "Don't forget your medicine," his mother said, handing him a small bag. "And call me when you can." Jung smiled. Even at 32 years old, his mother still worried about him. "The signal takes 4 years to reach Earth, Mom. But I'll send messages." After his mother left, Jung finished packing. He carefully folded his clothes and placed them in the suitcase. He added his tablet, research notes, and a small photo of his family. Last came a box of Korean snacks, a taste of home for the long journey. What Jung didn't see was the small brown spider that crawled into his suitcase while he was in the bathroom. The spider, an ordinary house spider no bigger than a coin, found a warm, dark spot between layers of clothes and made itself at home. The next morning was a blur of activity. There were speeches by government officials, final medical checks, and many goodbyes. June met the other chosen scientists at the spaceport. "I'm Hyun," said a tall man with glasses, shaking June's hand. "Xenolinguistics." "And I'm Mina," said a woman with short black hair. "Xenobiology, like you." The 3 of them would work closely for the next 2 years, studying the Tak and their world. The Tak ship that would take them to Proxima Centauri was not what June expected. Instead of metal and machinery, it looked more like a giant seed pod. It was smooth and white, with no visible doors or windows. A Tak representative met them at the boarding area. It stood on 4 legs and had 4 arms. Its body was covered in a hard blue-green shell that shimmered in the light. 2 large eyes on stalks moved independently, looking at each human in turn. "Welcome, Earth scientists," it said through a translation device. Its voice sounded like water running over stones. "I am Transport Coordinator Zhe. Our journey will take 30 Earth days using fold space technology." June had read about fold space, the Tak method of faster-than-light travel, but it was still like magic to him. "Will the trip be safe?" asked Mina. Zay's eye stalks bobbed up and down. "We have made this journey 73 times with no incidents. You will be in stasis for most of the trip." As they boarded the ship with their luggage, Jun felt a mix of excitement and fear. No human had ever traveled this far from Earth. No human had ever spent months living among aliens. What June didn't know was that he wouldn't be traveling alone. The small spider in his suitcase would change everything about their mission. It would test the limits of human diplomacy. It would reveal the deepest fears of an alien species, and it would nearly cause the destruction of an entire colony. But for now, the spider slept, waiting to arrive at its new home among the stars. June woke slowly from stasis sleep. His body felt heavy, like his muscles had forgotten how to work. Through blurry eyes, he saw Hyun and Mina also waking up nearby. "We have arrived at Proxima Centauri," announced Zia through the translation device. "Tak colony welcomes you." June's first view of the alien planet took his breath away. Through the viewing port, he saw a world of deep red skies and strange purple plants. The star Proxima Centauri hung low and large in the sky, bathing everything in reddish light. The Tak colony itself was even more amazing. It looked like a collection of giant bubbles connected by tubes, all floating above the ground. Some bubbles were clear, showing gardens of alien plants inside. Others were solid colors: blue, green, and gold. The colony stays above ground to avoid the planet's natural predators, explains Over 5,000 talk live and work here. Their landing pod touched down on a flat platform at the base of the colony. June and the other humans collected their luggage and prepared to exit. Inside June's suitcase, the spider stirred, awakened by the movement. As the door opened, a group of TAC officials waited to greet them. The lead TAC stepped forward. It was taller than Za, with a shell that shimmered with rainbow colors. 4 thin arms ended in delicate fingers with too many joints. I am Chief Scientist Click-Ta, it said, its eye stalks focusing on each human in turn. We are honored by your presence. You are the first humans to visit our colony. Minna bowed slightly. The honor is ours. We look forward to learning from you. The humans followed the talk into a clear tube that carried them up to the main colony. As they rose higher, June could see the alien landscape stretching for miles. Strange animals moved in the distance. Your living quarters have been adapted for human needs, said Click-Ta. We have studied human biology carefully to ensure your comfort. The living area was inside one of the larger bubbles. Each human had a private room with a bed, desk, and bathroom. The furniture looked almost normal, though the shapes were slightly wrong, as if designed by someone who had only seen pictures of human rooms. Rest now, said Click-Ta. Tomorrow we begin our exchange of knowledge. After the talk left, June unpacked his suitcase. He carefully arranged his clothes in the storage units and placed the photo of his family on the desk. He didn't notice when the small spider crept out from between his folded shirts and disappeared into a vent in the wall. That night, June, Hyun, and Minna ate dinner together in the common area between their rooms. The food is strange but good, said Hyun, trying a blue vegetable that tasted like sweet potato. I still can't believe we're here, said Minna. Did you notice how carefully they watch us? I think they find humans as strange as we find them. June nodded. I noticed something else too. Have you seen how clean everything is? Not a speck of dust anywhere. And no insects or small animals of any kind. Maybe they don't like pests, said Hyun. Or maybe they're very careful about what life forms they allow in the colony, said June. None of them realized how right June was. The Tak were indeed very careful about controlling what lived in their colony. They had good reasons to be. Meanwhile, the spider from Earth had found its way into the colony's ventilation system. It crawled through the narrow spaces, exploring its new home. It was hungry after the long journey. Soon it would need to find food and a place to build a web. The spider was just a common house spider. On Earth, it would have lived its life catching flies in a corner, unnoticed by humans. But here, in the Tak colony, it was about to become the most dangerous creature on the planet. 3 days passed quietly. The humans settled into life in the Tak colony. Each morning, they met with different Tak scientists to share knowledge. The aliens were most interested in Earth biology and human social structures. Your planet has over 8 million different animal species, asked Click-Ta during one meeting. The chief scientist's eye stalks stood straight up in surprise. Yes, said Minna. Earth has a very diverse ecosystem, and many of these are arthropods. Click-Ta said the word carefully, as if it was difficult to pronounce. About 80%, said June. Insects, spiders, crustaceans. They're the most successful animal group on Earth. The talk in the room made a strange clicking sound that the translation device didn't catch. Is something wrong? Asked Hyun. No, said Click-Ta quickly. We are simply surprised. Please continue. On the morning of the 4th day, June, Hyun, and Minna sat in the dining area eating breakfast. The food was made from local plants and proteins, carefully tested to be safe for humans. It tasted similar to rice and vegetables, though the colors were all wrong: purple rice and blue vegetables. A young Tak named Visit was cleaning nearby. Visit was smaller than the other Tak the humans had met, with a pale green shell that hadn't fully hardened yet. According to Click-Ta, Visit was still in the final growth stage. similar to a human teenager. Suddenly, Bizet dropped the cleaning tool with a loud clatter. All four of the young Tuck's arms pointed at the wall behind June's head. PP parasite, screamed Bizet. The translation device made the word sound like a wail. June turned to look. There, crawling slowly across the white wall, was a small brown house spider. "Oh, it's just a spider," said June, turning back to his food. "It's harmless." But Bizet was backing away, making high-pitched clicking sounds that the translation device couldn't keep up with. Other talk in the dining area noticed, and within seconds, the room erupted in chaos. Talk were running for the exits, some pushing others in their rush to get away. Alarm sounds began to blare through the colony. Red lights flashed along the walls. "What's happening?" asked Mina, standing up in confusion. A voice boomed over the colony's announcement system. "Alert! Parasitic life form detected in dining area 3. All personnel evacuate immediately." "This is not a drill." "Repeat, this is not a drill." The humans looked at each other in shock. All this panic over a tiny spider. Security talk in dark blue shells rushed into the room wearing what looked like protective suits. They carried long tools that glowed at the tips. "Humans must leave area now," one of them commanded. "Wait, it's just a harmless spider from Earth," said June, trying to explain. "It's not dangerous." "Out. Now." The security tech's voice left no room for argument. The humans were escorted quickly to a different section of the colony. Behind them, they could hear the security team talking in urgent, clicked phrases. "I don't understand," said Hyun as they were led into a small waiting room. "Why are they so afraid of a spider?" "It must be something cultural," said Mina, "or maybe biological. Remember how they reacted when we mentioned arthropods in the meeting?" June felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. "I think the spider came from Earth," he said quietly. "It might have been in my luggage. This might be my fault." The door slid open, and Click-Taw entered. The chief scientist's normally colorful shell seemed duller, and its movements were stiff and jerky. "We must speak about the parasite," said Click-Taw. The translation device made the Tuck's voice sound flat and serious. "It's called a spider," said June, "and I think it might have come with me from Earth. I'm very sorry." "Sorry?" Click-Taw's eye stalks bent toward June. "You do not understand. If this spider is not contained quickly, the entire colony may be at risk." The humans looked at each other in confusion. How could one tiny spider threaten an entire colony? They were about to find out. Click-Taw led the three humans to a small meeting room. The walls displayed moving images of the colony's different sections. On one screen, they could see security talk in protective suits searching the dining area, their movements careful and slow. "I must explain why this is serious," said Click-Taw. "Please sit." The humans sat at a round table. Click-Taw remained standing, eye stalks moving nervously. "In the history of the talk," began Click-Taw, "there have been 3 great plagues. Each nearly destroyed our species. Images appeared on the walls, pictures of sick talk with dark spots on their shells. The carrier of these plagues was a creature similar to your spider. We call it the Deathbringer." Click-Taw clicked a command, and a new image appeared. The humans leaned forward. The image showed a creature that did look somewhat like a spider, but larger and with sharp, pointed legs and glowing red eyes. "The Deathbringer attaches to a Tuck's shell," continued Click-Taw. "It injects eggs through the shell. The eggs hatch inside the body, and," the Tuck paused, eye stalks drooping, "and they eat the Tuck from the inside," finished Mina softly. "Yes," said Click-Taw. "Before we developed medicine, half our population died in each plague. Even now, the sight of anything similar to a Deathbringer causes what you might call panic. But Earth spiders don't do that," said June quickly. "They can't harm Tuck. They're too small, and they have no interest in your species." Click-Taw's eye stalks turned toward June. "Can you guarantee this?" Can you promise your Earth spider will not harm us? June opened his mouth, then closed it. He was a scientist. He couldn't make absolute promises about biology without testing. I understand your fear, said Hyun, the language expert. On Earth, humans also fear animals that remind us of dangerous ones from our past. Some humans fear snakes or spiders even when they are harmless. But you keep these creatures as pets sometimes, asked Click-Ta. The concept seemed to disturb the talk. Some do, said June. Most house spiders on Earth eat insects that bother humans. They help us. Click-Ta made a sound like air escaping from a balloon. This is difficult to imagine. On the screens around them, they could see more security talk joining the search. They used scanning devices that sent beams of light across surfaces. Have they found it yet? Asked Mina. No, said Click-Ta. It has disappeared. Spiders are good at hiding, said June. But it will likely build a web soon. That might make it easier to find. A web. Click-Ta's entire body stiffened. Yes, a web. Spiders make webs from silk to catch food, explained June. Deathbringers also make webs, said Click-Ta, to trap young Tak. The room fell silent. The humans now understood. The similarities between Earth spiders and the Deathbringers were too strong for the talk to ignore. I want to help find it, said June. It's my responsibility. I think it came from my luggage. Click-Ta considered this. The Colony Council is meeting now to decide what to do. Some want to use poison gas in the ventilation system. No, said June. That could hurt people. Let me try to catch it first. I will bring your offer to the council, said Click-Ta. But you must understand, our fear of these creatures is not just cultural. It is in our biology. Every Tak is born with this fear. We cannot simply ignore it. As Click-Ta left, the humans looked at the screens showing the colony in chaos. Tak were sealing off sections. Some families were packing belongings, preparing to leave. All this for one small spider, said Hyun, shaking his head. It's not just a spider to them, said Mina. It's a monster from their nightmares. June watched the screens with growing worry. He had to find that spider. The future of human-Tak relations might depend on it. And somewhere in the colony's ventilation system, the spider, hungry after its long journey, began to spin its first web. 2 hours later, June stood in the colony's main control room. Around him, Tak officers moved quickly, checking screens and giving orders. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Click-Ta had just returned from the council meeting. The council has accepted your help, said Click-Ta. But we have only 24 hours before they use the poison gas. That should be enough time, said June, trying to sound confident. Finding one spider in this huge colony would not be easy. Mina and Hyun joined them. Mina carried a small box with air holes. For when we catch it, she explained. The head of Tak security approached. This Tak was larger than the others, with a dark blue shell marked with official symbols. 4 security officers followed behind. I am Security Chief Richt, it said. My team will assist in finding the parasite. Spider, corrected Hyun gently. We should call it by its proper name. Richt's eye stalks twitched. Spider, then. We have divided the colony into search zones. Each team will take one zone. On a large screen, a map of the colony appeared. It was divided into colored sections. We will use these, said Richt, holding up a small round device. Bioscanners. They can detect any life form not registered in our system. The spider is small, warned June. And it likely went into the walls or ventilation system. The scanners can penetrate walls, said Richt. But they have a short range. We must search each area carefully. They split into teams. June went with Click-Ta and 2 security officers. Mina joined another team, and Hyun went with a third. Each human carried a capture box. June's team began searching the dining area where the spider was first seen. They moved slowly, scanning every corner. The security officers kept their distance from the walls, their movements stiff with fear. "What do earth spiders eat?" asked Click-Ta as they searched. "Mostly small insects," said June. "But there are no earth insects here. It might be very hungry by now." "Could it eat talk food?" asked Click-Ta, eye stalks rising in alarm. "Maybe," said June. "Spiders are adaptable. They can go weeks without food, but they always look for water." This gave June an idea. "Let's check water sources, pipes, drains, anywhere there's moisture." They redirected their search to the colony's water systems. As they walked, June noticed more and more talk carrying bags and containers. "Are they evacuating?" he asked. "Some families are moving to the emergency shelters," said Click-Ta. "Others are preparing to leave the colony completely if the spider is not found." June felt a weight in his chest. All this fear and disruption because of one tiny spider that had hitchhiked in his luggage. In another section of the colony, Minna's team was searching living quarters. Her scanner suddenly beeped. "I got something," she called out. The talk with her backed away quickly. Minna moved forward alone, following the beeping scanner. It led her to a small vent near the floor. She shined a light inside. There in the corner of the vent was a small web, but no spider. "It was here," she called to the others, "but it's moved on." She took a picture with her tablet and sent it to June and Hyun. When June saw it, he nodded to himself. The web was fresh, made within the last few hours. "It's looking for food and a permanent home," he told Click-Ta. "Spiders are creatures of habit. They build webs where they think food will come." "Where would that be in our colony?" asked Click-Ta. June thought for a moment. "Somewhere warm, dark, with moving air to catch flying insects. But since there are no flying insects here," his eyes widened as he realized. "The air circulation system, the main hub where all the vents connect." Over their communication devices, they heard Hyun's voice. "Everyone, come to Section 7 quickly. We found something important." As they rushed to meet Hyun, emergency alarms began to sound throughout the colony again. The situation was getting worse. June and Click-Ta rushed to Section 7, the administrative center of the colony. This large, open area was where many talk worked each day. Now it was filled with panicked aliens running in all directions. "What happened?" June asked as they arrived. Hyun stood near the center of the room, pointing up at the ceiling. "Look." There, stretched between two light fixtures, was a large spider web. The web glistened in the bright lights, its pattern perfect and complete. "Where is the spider?" asked Click-Ta, keeping a safe distance. "We don't know," said Hyun. Someone saw it on the web and shouted. Then everyone started running. Security Chief Richt pushed through the crowd toward them. "3 talk are injured from the panic. We must evacuate this entire section now." June studied the web carefully. This is a good sign. The spider is settling in, creating a permanent home. It won't go far from this web. "It made this in a public place," said Minna, who had just arrived. "Why would it do that?" "It doesn't understand it's in danger," explained June. "On Earth, house spiders often build webs in corners of rooms where humans live. They're used to being around people." A sudden scream cut through the noise of the crowd. A female talk was pointing at the floor near a desk. There, it moved. The Deathbringer moved. All eyes turned to where she pointed. A small brown spider, no bigger than a coin, crawled slowly across the floor. It seemed unaware of the chaos it was causing. The reaction was immediate. Talk pushed each other, trying to get to the exits. The security team tried to keep order, but they too kept their distance from the spider. "Don't move," shouted June. "You'll scare it away." But his words were lost in the noise. A young talk fell in the rush, and others tripped over them. The room was in complete chaos. June looked at Minna and Hyun. "We have to catch it now or someone will get seriously hurt." Minna handed him the capture box. June took a deep breath and moved toward the spider. which had stopped moving and was now perfectly still. The room grew quieter as the talk watched in horror. Click-Taw's voice came over the colony's speaker system. Everyone remained calm. The human expert is handling the situation. June knelt down slowly, box in hand. The spider was ordinary in every way, a common house spider from Earth. But to the talk, it was a monster from their deepest nightmares. Just as June was about to lower the box over the spider, the doors at the far end of the room burst open. A group of TAC officials entered, led by an elderly TAC with a bright red shell. "Stop this at once," the red-shelled TAC commanded. "Get away from that creature." June looked up in surprise. The spider, startled by the noise, scurried under a nearby desk and disappeared. "Eldersrick," said Click-Taw, moving forward. The human was about to capture. "I know what he was doing," interrupted Eldersrick. "The High Council has met in emergency session. This situation has become too dangerous." Trick turned to address the room. "The Council has voted. The colony will begin full evacuation procedures immediately. All non-essential personnel must leave the colony within 48 hours. A shocked murmur ran through the crowd. June, Mina, and Hyun looked at each other in disbelief. "Full evacuation," said Click-Taw. "But Elder, that would take weeks to complete. And the cost? The cost of losing lives would be greater," said Zrick firmly. "The Deathbringer." "Spider," corrected Hyun automatically, "is loose in our most populated area. We cannot risk an outbreak." Zrick's eye stalks turned to June. "Your time is up, human. We will use our own methods now." As Zrick and the officials left, June felt a cold knot in his stomach. This small spider had just caused the evacuation of an entire alien colony, and it was his fault. "We need a new plan," he said quietly to Mina and Hyun. "We have to fix this." The next morning, the colony was transformed. What had been a peaceful scientific outpost was now a scene of organized chaos. TAC moved quickly through the corridors, carrying containers and equipment. The sound of ships arriving and departing filled the air. June, Mina, and Hyun stood at a viewing window, watching as shuttles carried TAC families to larger transport ships waiting above. 5,000 TAC, said Mina quietly, all leaving because of one tiny spider. Click-Taw approached them, looking tired. The chief scientist's normally bright shell seemed dull and lifeless. "The first 1,000 have already left," said Click-Taw. Priority was given to the young and old. "And what happens to the colony after everyone leaves?" asked Hyun. "Decontamination teams will release poison gas throughout all sections," said Click-Taw. "After 14 days, they will check if all life forms have been eliminated. If safe, we will begin returning in small groups." 14 days of poison gas, said June, shaking his head. "Just to kill one spider." "The council is not taking chances," said Click-Taw. Eldersrick lost his entire family in the Third Great Plague. His fear of the deathbray of spiders is stronger than most. June paced the room, thinking hard. This is excessive. There must be a better way. "The evacuation order is final," said Click-Taw. "You three will be transported to the research station on our second moon this evening. From there, arrangements will be made to return you to Earth." "So that's it," said Mina, her voice rising. "Our mission is over because of a spider." Click-Taw's eye stalks drooped. "I am sorry. The council believes it is too dangerous for you to stay." After Click-Taw left, the three humans gathered in their common room to talk privately. "We can't just give up," said June. "This could damage human-TAC relations for years. They'll always remember us as the species that brought a deadly threat to their colony." "But what can we do?" asked Hyun. "The evacuation has already started." June's eyes lit up. "We need to catch that spider. Today, before we're sent away." "But how?" asked Mina. "We've been trying for 2 days." June smiled. "We've been thinking like scientists. Let's think like spider hunters instead." He pulled out his tablet and began searching through Earth biology files. Spiders have certain behaviors we can use against them, he explained. They're attracted to vibrations that might be prey. They follow specific patterns when building webs, and they have preferences for dark, quiet spaces. So what's your plan? Asked Hyun. We'll build traps, said June. Not just one, but dozens of them. We'll place them throughout the colony, focusing on the areas where the spider has been seen. Minna nodded slowly. And how do we make these traps? We'll need small containers, some food to use as bait, and something to create vibrations, said June. We can use the colony's systems to create gentle vibrations in specific areas, just enough to attract a spider. I can do that, said Hyun. The Tak gave me access to some of their communication systems. June stood up with renewed energy. Let's go talk to Click-Ta. We need permission to try this before we're sent away. They found Click-Ta in the control room, monitoring the evacuation process. The screens showed long lines of Tak waiting to board shuttles. We have an idea, said June. A plan to catch the spider before the evacuation is complete. Click-Ta listened as June explained their plan. The Tak's eye stalks moved thoughtfully. Elders Rick would not approve, said Click-Ta. The council has made its decision. Please, said June. Just give us 24 hours. If we fail, we'll leave without argument. Click-Ta was silent for a long moment. Finally, the Tak nodded. 24 hours, said Click-Ta. But you must work quickly. The evacuation continues, and the decontamination teams arrive tomorrow. As they left to begin their work, June looked out at the steady stream of Tak leaving their home. One small spider from Earth had caused all this. Now it was up to him to fix it before it was too late. The three humans worked quickly. June designed the spider traps while Mina and Hyun gathered materials. They used small clear containers from the science lab, food from the dining hall, and small devices that created gentle vibrations. Spiders sense vibrations through their legs, June explained as they built the first trap. They think it might be an insect caught in their web. But there's no web in our traps, said Hyun, looking confused. The vibrations will still attract them, said June. Especially a hungry spider in a strange place. They made 30 traps in 2 hours. Each trap was simple, a clear container with food inside and a device that made soft, buzzing sounds. The entrance was wide and sloped downward, so a spider could easily crawl in but would have trouble climbing out. Click-Ta watched them work with fascination. Your species' ability to solve problems is impressive, the Tak scientist said. Most Tak would not even consider getting close to a spider. Humans adapt, said Mena. It's our greatest strength. With the traps ready, they split up to place them throughout the colony. They focused on the areas where the spider had been seen, especially near water sources and warm air vents. June placed several in the administration section, where they had seen the web. As they worked, the evacuation continued around them. Now half of the colony was empty. The remaining Tak moved quickly, gathering only essential items. Security teams patrolled constantly, watching for any sign of the spider. By evening, all 30 traps were in place. June set up a monitoring system that would alert them if any trap detected movement. Now we wait, he said. They gathered in the control room with Click-Ta. The screens showed the empty corridors and rooms of the colony. In some areas, they could see their traps glowing softly in the darkness. How long will it take? Asked Click-Ta. It depends on how hungry the spider is, said June. And how curious. Hours passed with no results. Midnight came and went. The evacuation continued through the night, with more and more Tak leaving the colony. By morning, only 1,000 remained. June fought to stay awake. His eyes burned from watching the screens. Minna had fallen asleep in her chair, and Hyun paced the room nervously. We have only 6 more hours, said Click-Ta. Then you must leave. I know, said June. He rubbed his tired eyes. Had he missed something? Was there a better way to catch a spider? Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Soft but urgent. One of the monitors flashed. Movement detected in Trap 17, announced the computer system. Everyone jumped to attention. Mena woke up instantly. They all stared at the screen showing Trap 17, located in a small maintenance room near the water recycling system. I can't see clearly, said Hyun. Is it the spider? June enhanced the image. There, inside the trap, was a small brown shape moving slowly around the edges. It's the spider, he shouted. We caught it. Relief washed over Click-Taw's body, the tox shell brightening visibly. Are you certain? Let's go check, said June. We need to be absolutely sure. They hurried to the maintenance room. The trap sat on a shelf, glowing softly. Inside, the spider moved in circles, trying to find a way out. June carefully sealed the trap with the cover they had prepared. Got you, he said quietly to the spider. Click-Taw stayed by the door, keeping distance from the trap. Is it secure? It cannot escape. It's secure, confirmed June. This is definitely the spider from Earth, a common house spider. I will inform Eldersrick immediately, said Click-Taw. The evacuation can be stopped. As they carried the trapped spider back to the control room, Jun felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They had done it, caught one small spider, and potentially saved an entire alien colony from abandonment. But the story wasn't over yet. They still needed to convince the Tok that the danger had truly passed. The central meeting hall of the Tok colony was filled to capacity. Eldersrick stood on a raised platform, eye stalks moving slowly over the crowd. Behind him, the three humans waited with Click-Taw. On a small table between them sat the sealed container with the spider inside. Members of the colony, announced Eldersrick. Our human guests claim they have captured the Deathbringer. A murmur ran through the crowd. Many Tok moved uneasily, keeping their distance from the platform. I have agreed to this public meeting, continued Zrick, to determine if the evacuation should continue or if the threat has truly passed. Zrick turned to June. Please explain to everyone what you have done. June stepped forward, holding the container carefully. The Tok in the front rows shifted backward. This is a common house spider from Earth, June began. It accidentally traveled here in my luggage. It is not dangerous to humans, and it cannot harm Tak either. June held up the container so everyone could see. Inside, the small brown spider sat motionless. This creature is so small, June continued. It eats only tiny insects. It cannot lay eggs in your bodies. It is not a Deathbringer. Eldersrick's shell darkened slightly. You cannot know that for certain. The similarities are too great. Hyun stepped forward. We understand your fear. Humans also have fears based on our evolutionary history. But sometimes we need to face these fears to move forward. Mena joined them. We've analyzed this spider carefully. Its mouth parts are too small to penetrate Tok shells. Its venom is designed for tiny insects, not large beings like you. The crowd listened, but doubt showed in their postures and the nervous movement of their eye stalks. June had a sudden idea. Eldersrick, may I ask how the third Great Plague was stopped? Zrick seemed surprised by the question. Our scientists developed a protective shell coating that prevented the Deathbringers from injecting their eggs. Exactly, said June. You didn't just run away. You solved the problem with science and understanding. He placed the container on the table and opened his tablet. We've prepared information about Earth spiders, their biology, behavior, and how they differ from your Deathbringers. Knowledge is the best weapon against fear. Click-Taw moved forward to stand beside June. I propose we create a joint research team, human and tech scientists working together to study this creature in a safe environment. We can learn from each other. Eldersrick was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he moved closer to the container. His eye stalks bent down to examine the spider. So small, he said quietly, yet it caused such fear. He straightened and addressed the crowd. The evacuation will be paused. Those who have left may return if they wish. The joint research team will study this Earth creature and determine if it truly poses no threat. A collective sigh of relief moved through the room. Tak began talking excitedly among themselves. Trick turned to the humans. Your wisdom and perseverance have taught us something important today. Fear must be balanced with knowledge. In the following days, most Tak returned to the colony. The research team, led by Klik-Ta and Jun, studied the spider in a special laboratory. They shared their findings with the entire colony through educational sessions. Some Tak still kept their distance from the laboratory, their evolutionary fear too strong to overcome completely. But many others came to watch the spider spin its web and catch the artificial food they provided. The spider, unaware of its role in nearly evacuating an entire colony, lived peacefully in its new home. It was eventually joined by other carefully controlled Earth insects for it to eat. 1 month later, as June prepared to return to Earth, Klik-Ta presented him with a special gift, a beautiful model of a spider web made from precious metal. To remind us, said Klik-Ta, that understanding can overcome fear, and that even the smallest things can build bridges between worlds. June smiled. A tiny house spider had nearly destroyed relations between humans and Tak. Instead, it had made them stronger than ever. The end.